So, are you a sensitive introvert, small business owner, like a coach, a healer, an arty creative person who might find it really hard to get certain things done in your business? You're most likely absolutely excellent at your actual craft and you've honed and mastered the skills and the abilities for many years. You can probably do it closed eyes at midnight when somebody wakes you up, and you live for the times that you can do that. But then, alas, there are those other things that make a business tick over that absolutely have to get done. For instance, doing things consistently according to a plan, content creation, marketing, admin talks, accounting, all those different hats that a business owner have to wear, especially when they don't have the cash flow yet to pay somebody else to do those tasks. I'm Liesel Teversham of SavvySelfGrowth.com, and I work with many sensitive introverts. And I have my colleague with me today, my colleague, friend, and strengths mentor, Dries Lombaard. Now I'm going to ask Dries to help us manage those hard things that don't come easily or naturally to us. Welcome, Dries.
Thanks, Liesel. It's always a fantastic privilege and joy to talk to you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm going to just share a few words about Dries and his expertise so that people can understand why it might be a good thing to listen to Dries. So he's widely regarded as one of the most experienced strengths coaches and consultants in the world. His journey with strength started in 2005, and he became the first Clifton Strengths trainer for coaches outside of the US. He's coached, trained, and consulted with thousands of individuals and high profile teams. He's got a book that we're going to talk about afterwards, and it's available on Amazon called Launch Your Brilliance. And he now lives in a stunning garden route in South Africa with his beautiful family, his wife, 4 daughters, and I believe still 3 dogs. So I have been working, Dries, with CliftonStrengths since I was introduced to it by a dear friend of mine through your company for the past 6 years. And I can't even begin to say how much it's meant to me professionally and personally, and how it's positively influenced my life and my work. So, Dries, I want to ask you about the challenges that small business owners can have when they realize that some of those tasks that their business need to succeed and to be sustainable, some of those skills and abilities are actually in what we call our non-patterns. It's not easy for us to do those things. But before we get there, I want to just set some context. So, could you help us to understand, for those that don't know yet, what is Clifton Strengths, or what are they, and just a bit of background about that?
Sure. So, Clifton Strengths is an online assessment created by the Gallup organization. They've been working on the principle and the theory, and they've been researching in depth for more than 5 decades, actually, in terms of people's natural talents, natural abilities, and strengths. And then they created, first only for their own benefit in-house, to work with clients. Back then it was first called the Strength Finder assessment, and then they started to make that a bit more available in the last 20 years, and in the last more or less 10 years, readily available online to anyone. And also now called the Clifton Strengths, just to honor the creator and founder, Sir Don Clifton, who did and started the strength movement. So what the Clifton Strengths is meant to do is to, through an assessment of about 180 questions that you answer online, give you a report on a sequence of known talents or strengths that they defined over the years. So in their research, they defined different categories, 4 different categories where people function in any way, no specific preset pattern, but randomly for anyone that can fit into either being more executing, more what they call influencing, more relationally inclined, or more of a strategic thinker. And then they broke that down even further into 34 different themes. And each theme has got a definition that explains a combination of recurring patterns of thinking, of feeling, and of behavior that you will find true, and you will definitely relate to it if that is strong in you. You will go like, yeah, I think like that, I feel that way, and that's my typical behavior. It's important to realize that the CliftonStrengths is not a personality assessment, nor is it a recruitment tool. It's a developmental tool. So it's there to not to give you a kind of a breakdown or overview and then tell you, okay, this is your type and this is what we can say about you, but rather give you insight in the principle behind it. And that is based on, if I invest in the way I'm wired, and I give most of my energy, my time, my resources within those themes and those patterns, I will last longer. I will be more successful. I'll be more content, and I'll be more likely to reach a sustainable level of fulfillment and goal reaching in what I do. And therefore, they call it strengths. Not because a strength is something you do well, that is more a skill, but a strength is a story and a description of what strengthens you when you do it, or what strengthens you in interaction with someone, or what strengthens you in a pattern of thought, or socially, or so on. And in the sequence that's listed, if you do the report from strongest number 1 down to 34, what they call the non-patterns at the bottom, or your weaknesses. Again, weaknesses is not things you cannot do. Weaknesses, actually, you can be great at doing something, have a lot of skill, and hate it. That will mean it's in your weakened zone. It's in your non-patterns. When it weakens you, it's a weakness. When it strengthens you, it's a strength. And the principle that we use in coaching and consulting and therapy and so on is help people understand where's the area of strength for you, where's your natural energy, where's your natural need, and then also what is normal for you to resist. What would you stay away from if you have the choice? What will drain your energy if you spend a lot of time in those behaviors or in those thought patterns or relationally? And therefore, it's so impactful and meaningful because it helps people to actively understand themselves and others better and spend time with doing the right kind of things at the right time, and also know when you have a reaction towards specific places, faces, activities. Why does it happen to you? Why do you resist that? It's probably a non-pattern with you, nothing wrong with you. So just finally, I think the greatest thing about what I love most about the tool is it's not about the tool, but where it's found, where it's grounded in. It's grounded in what we call positive psychology, which is a fairly new field. And where your traditional clinical psychology will naturally ask the question, what's wrong with you so we can fix it? Positive psychology asks, what's right with you so we can invest in it?
Mhm.
And that's where it fits in. Find out what's right with you and do more of it. In that sense, the CliftonStrengths tool or assessment is extremely helpful if you apply it in the correct way. Otherwise, it can just be an interesting thing. But as you just said, it could be life-changing. It could be career-changing. It can be very powerful. So that's more or less what the CliftonStrengths is about.
I love it so much, the whole context of just understanding what this can do for us. And here's the thing that so many of us, and I include myself in this, even though I know my non-patterns, I've been trying for some weird, unknown reason to try and emulate other people who have what I have in my non-patterns, to sort of try and increase it, because there's something in my brain that says I'm not stupid. I should be able to do this. If I try a little bit harder, if I just, I can do this. I'm not stupid. And I can't tell you, for instance, I've got activated at number 34. It's the hardest thing for me to start. Once I've started, I can move. But every single thing that I have to start, it feels like, I don't know, a dinosaur that needs to get moving. So can you say a few words before I get to the actual question that I want to ask is, can you say a few words about how much effort it takes us to try and improve those things in the bottom against our better judgment even, and why does it take so much effort?
Yeah, so when we look at your weaknesses or non-patterns, again, as you just said, it's not that you cannot do it. It's not that you cannot think that way, act that way, even feel that way. You can through effort, through training, through applying grit and just digging into it. But what makes it so difficult is the essence of what the CliftonStrength measures. It measures basically two things. It measures your natural energy, and then it measures your natural need. What gives me energy and what do I need? In terms of different areas, where do I find energy in relationships? And therefore, what type of relationships do I need? Where do I find energy in patterns of thought and reasoning and analyzing and strategizing? And therefore, what do I need in terms of places, things, interactions to get more of that energy? The same with influence. If I interact with people, where's my energy high? And therefore, what do I need? In execution, the same way. When I have to get things done, when I have to execute, where do I have the strongest energy and need? And unfortunately, the reality is we are not all blessed with an even spread of energy and need throughout these domains. Some people are. Some people will find that they have a good dose of execution. They can get things done. They've got a good dose of influence and interaction. They've got a nice bit of energy for interpersonal relationship, and as well as thinking patterns and analyzing, criticizing, strategizing. They have some of that. But that's actually quite rare. It's quite rare to have that let's call it balance for the sake. And therefore, in the strength movement, we actually say that balance is overrated, and there's also another movement in the world that always pushes for balance and well-balancedness. And there's a place for that in another context of discussion. Absolutely. Balance is a must if we look at it from another perspective. But if we look at how you are naturally wired, it's impossible to rewire yourself to the degree that you can take something that's not within you and just create it sustainably. You can create energy for a while. You can motivate yourself for a while. You can act in a context temporarily in a specific way. You can force yourself to have mental activities for a temporary short period of time in a specific way. But if you're not wired that way, it's not sustainable.
Mm.
So it's not about being able, it's not ability, it's sustainability and energy. So your question about why is it so difficult and why does it take so much effort? It's because when you find that you have certain talent themes on the lower end of the scale, it means that it will not only be that you lack energy or lack an affinity or a need to do that. It may get so strong that you actually have a resistance against it. You don't want to do this. You don't want to interact this way. You can even experience anxiety. You can experience strong feelings about that context that you find yourself in, and when you're pressured to do that. And because you're an integrated human being, that's got an immense draining effect on you on all levels. Mentally, it's draining. You will get tired to function in a specific way for too long if you're not wired in that way. Emotionally, it's incredibly difficult to feel things that you're not able to feel, and then to fake it in a way. And even physically to do specific actions and work in a specific way or routine. If you're not wired in that way, it's as if you have holes in your tank, and the more you fill it up, the more the pressure, the faster it drains out, and you deplete, and that's not a nice feeling. But it's not only about the feeling, it's also a bad investment. It's a bad investment of time, of resources, and you can start to experience that. You can start to experience what the moment that I have to function with this type of activity or in this context or so, I'm wasting time, or I'm wasting energy, or I'm not productive, or I'm not effective. I don't see results. And I can do it for a longer period of time and put in more effort. I may see a slight increase for a while, and then it dips down again. And that is the true effect of weaknesses or non-patterns on you, in exactly the opposite way and the contrasting way that your strengths or your dominant themes will have. To the other effect, if you function in a way that's energizing to you, that you have a lot of need to do so, then it's got the effect that the more and the longer you do it, the stronger you get, the more effective you get, the more productive you get. You speed up, or you energize. It's that feeling that time flies, you don't know where time went, and when it's done, you actually go, oh no, I love this so much. I can do this all the time. Why do I need to stop? Why do I need to eat? Why do I need to sleep? If I can function in, it's that type of feeling, you're in your personal zone of strength. But the reality, and that's where you're aiming with this as well, is life is challenging in many ways. And when we start to grow up, we lose the privilege and the comfort to have people or parents or so look after our needs, and cover our blind spots, and cover our mistakes, or just tell us, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And then we step up and we need to, as my children will say, we'll need to adult. We must adult. And that means you have to do things that's not energizing, not draining, not sustainable to you, but draining, and you resist. And the results on that is terrible at times. You know, you kind of feel awkward on what you're doing when you do that. And that's the challenge of the strength-based approach, because the principle that we teach is invest most of your time as far as possible in your personal area of strength and manage your weaknesses.
Mm.
We don't ignore weaknesses. And that's the other important thing. Some people who don't understand the strength movement and what we teach will disagree and say, how can you ignore the fact that we have weaknesses and that we are confronted with it every day? And my response to that is, I'm sorry, I don't know where you spend time reading or so. Where did you get this nonsense that we ignore it? We are, I think, more aware of it than anyone else because we're so aware of our weakness and our strength, and we have both. Um, but it's about how do you manage your weaknesses? That's the question, not how do I avoid them. Avoidance is good if you can.
Yeah.
But an example that I often use is, there's, I think this is true all over the world in any culture or context. At some point in life, you have to queue in line to have a license renewed. And you must do it personally. Nobody else can queue on your behalf. Who loves that? Who loves to queue for hours in a government building or so to have papers stamped? And you have to do it. Now, that to me is an example of your weaknesses that you have to face. You just deal and go do it, get it done. And sometimes that's the struggle we have with our non-patterns. I need to get it done, but I don't know how. And what must I do?
Yeah, what must I do? So I love your whole explanation. It just makes it so clear for me about it's not that we lack ability completely, but how sustainable is it to keep on doing and to keep on trying in that area versus investing in our areas of strength. So here comes my specific question geared to many sensitive introverts that I work with in my
Mm,
business. And I know some mentors and colleagues and so on also with the same sort of challenge is they care deeply about other people. And so most of their world revolves around their relationships and what they can do for others. So they have many relational talents, they have many thinking talents, and they may be a little bit thinner in the executing and influencing
mm,
domains.
mm,
So, for them to have a sustainable business, they are taught things like you have to do content creation. It has to be on a schedule. Monday morning at 10 o'clock, I do this. Tuesday at 11 o'clock, I do this, that kind of thing. Um, they find it hard to stick to plans, to stick to those firm commitments, and they can find it excruciatingly difficult. I have clients who squirm in their seat, and that resistance you were talking about earlier, I can see the resistance in their whole body. It's written there like, don't ask me to do that. Or when we start talking about a routine to do certain things in their business, they love
mm,
openness and flexibility. When they look in their calendar, they want to see open spaces where they can, go with the flow and do things that come up for them in this moment. Then some have a hard time starting anything like me, or
mhm,
they have their influencing talents in the bottom. So they don't like being on the go the whole time. Like busy energy is very off-putting to them. It's like really hard work. Busy, 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 everything in my calendar scheduled for me, not easy. Then I have other colleagues, they're also introverts, but they are excellent at creating routines, order, structure, sticking to the plan. Like, I'm going to
mm,
do my day this way, and they can stick to it. They love it.
mm,
And some of us see those people and go, why can't we do it that way? Like, I want to do that. So we try and emulate that.
mm,
And my gosh, is it hard work,
mm.
as you just explained to us beautifully just now. So truth is, like we also said, some of those things need to get done. It's not, we can't get past those things. They are part of running a business. A sustainable business needs sustainable things happening in that business. So,
Mm.
could you help us understand what does it truly mean to manage our weaknesses, and how can we do that in that case when these things need to get done? So, how can we manage this? What is it that we practically can do about it?
Mm. Yeah, that is such an important and relevant question to everybody, simply because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and
Mm,
we can't deny or avoid the impact of it. Um, and the root of the challenge here, or the problem here, is not that we have weaknesses or non-patterns. We find that when we have that issue, it is more because we are alone. We're not part of a team. Um,
mm,
that's is for entrepreneurs. That's the main thing. If you're a solopreneur, you're on your own, and you don't have the resources or budget to do things, employ people that's strong where you are weak and that can take it over. You just can't. You
mm,
have to deal with it in some way on your own. So I think there's a few things to consider here, and I think I want to start with a let's call it a reality check, for specifically solopreneurs and so on. And the reality check here is that you need to embrace what you do and why you do it first. Um, you need to have a why and a passion that is so clear and so strong that you can hold on to that first and foremost.
mm,
You cannot, it's impossible to recreate the interaction or output or productivity or so of teams or companies, organizations, corporates when you're on your own. That's why they form companies. That's why teams exist. That's why I have different departments working together. Now, as a solopreneur, you need to embrace that fact first. You need to have a lot of grace with yourself and your business in having to do what you do on your own. And at some points, at some stages and so on, it may mean that you have to, difficult for me as a maximizer to say this, but it's true for all of us, you have to lower your standards a bit. You have to do a reality check. You have to tone it down and say, listen, I'm aiming there, but it's only me. Um, and that's okay, because there's a reason that I do what I do. There's a reason that I am alone in this business at this moment and stage. And even for many of us, you can even get to a stage where you choose to be alone. You may even get the ability to say, yeah, let's grow and let's expand. And you'd say, no, I don't want to do that. I want to work in this on my own. That's, I am the product, and I
mm,
don't want to dilute that. I want to strengthen that product, being myself. Very true for coaches and consultants and so on. If that's your drive and your energy. So the first step you have to take has got to do with a vulnerability and an acceptance of the fact of the matter is you cannot compare yourself to other companies or institutions or so that work on a different way. And you should not only embrace this and accept this, but you should own it in a way that you declare it and sell it. There's nothing wrong with that anymore, especially in these times now. Nobody will think strange of you if you tell them, this is gonna take a lot of time. I would love to get back to you tomorrow, but being a solopreneur, I have to take care of a lot of things. So it's going to take a few days, or I'll get back next week, or whatever. Build it into your vulnerability and your openness about who you are and what you do. At times, it may even be that you move away from certain opportunities and certain clients because you don't have the capacity to do it, and you choose not to do it, and that's okay as well. That's fine. So this principle of owning who you are, why you do it, and owning the fact that you're alone and that you are not superhuman and that you don't have all the talents or energy or even skill and knowledge, that's okay. So even in your brand and in your business, people must clearly see you for what you bring and what you don't bring. Some people are very critical on themselves in their business for not being, for instance, able to produce the kind of excellent standard in administration and invoicing and back-end web design and so that they would like a professional business to do. And yes, professionalism is important, and yes, excellence is great. But what are you selling? Who are you? What is it that you point out there? Because in a way, if you think about it, it's worth more to be openly honest and give a great product in what you can give and what you say to give than to have window dressing, put a lot of effort into having this facade of who you are, but you can't even deliver who you really are because you're too drained in the other area. So sometimes people have to accept they're working with a one-man band here. It's one person. It's going to take more time. It's going to and that should be fine. And I've seen personally more and more clients become actually not only fine with that, but even respecting that a lot. Just a few weeks ago, I told a prospective client, I told him, I can work with you, but not on your terms, because I prefer in what you want in that part to work with one client at a time. If I do more, it's going to be detrimental to the output and to me and to my time. So I don't have space for you because I'm busy with someone else. But I would really love to engage with you in a few months' time, if you're open for that. And I was surprised at the opposite effect it had than what I expected. I expected him to say, then I'll go somewhere else. And he said, his response was, I love that. I love your honesty, because I'll gladly wait. Because by the time I get you, I know I've got all of you, and I'm not sharing you with someone else. And I told him exactly that's what I do. I'm giving you all of me, and I need to respect that. So that's part of the ownership of what you do and who you are. And now we have not even started to talk about managing your non-patents. It's just a principle of but that takes you a long way already. If you cut out a bit of that harshness on yourself, that drive for excellence, the projection of comparing yourself with other companies, sometimes totally unfair, because I know some people who's on their own and they'll compare themselves with a multinational company. I mean, what are you doing? You know, are you crazy?
Yes.
That's not who you are or what you do. And think about it. Um, let's think in a different way, because this is true in that if you can go and buy bread at the supermarket that's been baked as part of a mechanical process. So they bake thousands of bread every day, never touched by a human hand. There will always be supply. You walk in and you take bread, you walk out and you have your bread. You can do that, nothing wrong with it. Or you can go to the local baker on the corner who bakes his bread by hand and put in a specific kind of loving care in that, and maybe a bit of a secret recipe.
Mm.
Um, you'll walk in and he'll greet you probably on your first name, and he'll tell you, you'll have to wait a bit, it's not ready yet. And you'll say, sure, I'll wait. And he'll have a discussion with you on the weather or the family. And then this hot bread comes out and he gives you your special piece.
Mm.
Now, his honor and his expertise lies in this whole picture. He does not confuse himself with having to have 1,000 breads ready by opening time. He owns the fact that his client will wait for him because of what he sells and how he does it.
Mm.
And for many of us, we need to throw off this expectations of a fast-paced world and just embrace the uniqueness of something special that we
Mm.
bring. Sometimes the reality is you'll have to pay a price in income-wise. You'll not probably make as much money. Again, that's a value discussion, and that's a discussion that you must say, okay, am I in the right space then? And then I should re-strategize. So
Mm.
that's the first thing, Liesel, that I want to address. And then from there, if you look at your personal realities of non-patterns, the fact that you are alone means that you only have so many strengths, and then you have a reality of weakness. And you gave two typical examples: either the people who's more relational and in a thinking domain, introverts, or people who's very sensitive,
Mm.
as opposed to or contrasting to the kind of high profile, fast paced people with influence out there and, do five people's work before 10 a.m., that kind of drive that you have. Um, so if you lack specific talents, there are ways for you to get around it and make up for it. Um, let's start with the one that I think should be first on your mind, and that is, who do I have? Who do I have that I not necessarily need to employ? Um, and people need to understand, here's the saying: you need help, and you're exactly the help that someone else needs.
Mm.
So the fact that you need help is not a one directional thing. You need help, but you are also the help someone else needs. So what I'm aiming here when I say the who is more, it's not towards employment and not towards partnership, but something that I discovered to be extremely beneficial and important, and that's collaboration. But collaboration for the sense or for the sake of mutual growth and benefit, and not collaboration to get a bigger product together out there and do more. But collaboration that turns towards each other and say, I need help. and I'm exactly the help that you may need.
Mm.
Let's collaborate. And let's build a relationship of trust and support. And so within this, this was so part of culture centuries ago, before the world industrialized and became a bit crazy, when most of the trade was in bartering.
Mm.
uh, that was the normal way. So I work with wood, and now I make a little chair, and then I go out and I give the chair to the guy who's got cows, and he gives me a cow so I have milk, and
Yeah.
I need help, and I'm the help that you need, and
Yes.
let's collaborate. Now we've got this centralized system of value called money that we all need to rush towards to get some kind of support that will cost us even more than that. And sometimes you will find this who or this collaboration in strange places. You don't have to start moving out of your space into putting yourself out there. You must just be more open towards either sharing and receiving.
Mm.
and and that's something that I truly believe as a value is very important, um, to openly also share what you have, share your knowledge, share your resources,
Mm.
um, trust a bit more, even if you get burnt from time to time. You know,
Mm.
the benefits will outweigh that one instance where someone abused your trust or whatever. So
Yeah.
trust more, take a risk in people, and ask. Ask for support, ask for help, and give it as
Mm.
well, as much in whatever your context may be. So it's not, the point I'm making is when you interact with people, and this may even with clients and so on, always listen with a perspective of how can I help,
Mm-hmm.
and listen with a perspective of can you help me. Have the dual
Right.
one. Have the dual one.
Yeah.
Don't just give, receive openly. And when you come across someone, ask him openly, listen, I think you can help me here. I need this, or I need help in this, training in this, resources in that, etc.
Mm.
Um, so when you go to your training elements, that's one way. The second way is not the who, but the what. What do I have? What do I have that I can lean into? Um, and that mostly refers to tools or strategies. Okay, tools may include many things. It may include electronic assistance, technological assistance, apps, for instance. That's a great help for many people in many ways. Um, it may be uh, more mental models that you borrow or get from someone, strategies in how to new ways to work, different ways to work. And I think that's the one important thing. If you look at the what also comes with the how.
Mm-hmm.
So so I can't use this tool if I don't know how to use it and how to work differently. And Liesel, there are numerous books out there over the last years that's amazing in terms of new ways of working, you know, new ways of collaborating, new ways of entrepreneurship, etc.
Mm.
Um, it's changing so fast that the ways we do it can just change your whole life and your whole perspective. So there's often tools and methods and things that you can lean onto and tap into. I'll give you one example, um, in managing your time, for instance, managing your time, and you know about this, and I'm sure many of the people who listens also knows about this, but there's a wonderful app for scheduling called Calendly.
Mm.
And the beautiful thing about that is where usually when someone wants to talk to you or want to see you, the moment they ask you, you go in a hijacked mode in the moment of having to respond immediately and be reactive in order to accommodate them. So the general conversation will be, Liesel, we need to talk. Do you mind if we set a date? And you say, no, I don't mind. I say, okay, when can you see me? Now you have to open your calendar, and now you start frantically searching. And then you say, well, I'm open then. And I'm not then. What about this? So it's this to or fro of hijacking your in an instant in that. Whereas what a tool like Calendly, what that does is you go and preset your own time on your calendar when you are available for what and when you're not available, so that you have dedicated slots or days that, say, for instance, you decide that you will have one-on-one interaction with people on Zoom, say on weekday mornings between 9 and 12, but that's it, okay?
Mm.
And it's dedicated for that. So now, if Liesel would contact me and say, Dries, let's have a chat, all I do is say, sure, I'd love to chat to you, Liesel. Here's my link. Find a time that works for you.
Mm.
Any time you choose will already work for me because I've preset it. So I am proactive. I
Mm.
have thought about myself first. So I already set my agenda, and now you, as the one who wants to reach out, can respond to my agenda. And all you do is click, and the only things you'll see is the slots that I said I'm available. And you choose the one that work, and the time and date is set, and we can. Now, I tell this to show people, and that made a huge impact on me because of my high adaptability and low discipline.
Yes.
And I live in the moment. I'm responsive in the moment. And I found that I so want to, in the moment, connect with everybody that reaches out to me. And out of my work, there's a lot of people who do that, that I found myself in responsive mode the whole day. And I don't get to things that's important to do
Mm.
because I start off a day where I think today I've got time to create this resource. I'm going to do content creation. And I sit down and a WhatsApp comes in and can I talk to you quickly? Oh, good. Yeah, I'll talk to you. And an hour later, I'm done. And I sit down and an email comes up and it says, Dries, can we meet about this project? And I go like, okay, today if possible. Okay. And I respond. At the end of the day, I need to create that content. I was busy the whole day. I don't know what I did because I responded to other people's agenda, not my
Yeah.
own. And my discipline, my structure and order, and my need for structure is so low that in the moment I will always give preference and priority to the people who stands in line first and knock on my door. Even if
Yes.
that's no priority in my schedule, it's priority for my energy. I want to respond to you.
Yes.
I love this immediate pressure. Now I still do it, but there's this app that protects me from myself in the background. And
Mm.
that when I was not under pressure, I could sit down and rational, without emotion, set my agenda and then just say, okay, Liesel, here's my app. Go find a day. So no pressure on me. And when the booking comes in, it fits my schedule agenda. And I can still decline if I want to, or I can still move it up or whatever you want to do.
Mm.
So the what and how you do, there are various ways and methods of applying things to help you, applying resources, applying accounting systems, you know, different, and not all of them cost, most of them, like Calendly, I use the free version. I
Mm.
use it selectively, so you don't even have to pay a lot for it. So works great for a one-man business as well. You don't have to go for the most expensive always.
Yeah.
But you need to think a bit on how can I make this easier on the areas that hijacks me, because the example I've just mentioned, it's got another point in it. I have low discipline. But you know what, Liesel? Discipline is not really my problem because it's so out of sight, out of mind. My problem is the contrast to the low discipline is my high adaptability.
Mm.
And that hijacks me. So,
Yes.
so the mismanagement of my strength with the absence
Mm.
of the counterbalance of discipline, that's becoming the problem. So I so mismanage this because I have no counterbalance in terms of structure and predictability and order, etc., in place.
Yeah.
And you need to be aware of that. And I gave a practical example now, but that can also be true for things like relationships, how you manage your interaction with people. Are you drained by social events and many people? Um, Try to manage and limit that. Try to set your own agenda better for that. Protect your boundaries. Get boundaries in place. Have healthy boundaries. Protect your energy. Protect your space. Or are you drained with intimate discussions one-on-one with people who really connect deeply? Well, limit that. Don't avoid it, because we all can do it and need to at times. But limit it to the right type of people at the right time, that you don't become this person who always kind of bends over, and break yourself in the process just to respond to the needs of others. So,
Yeah.
do you have any questions? I want to go on to another one as well, but I first want
N-
to
n-
you to
n-
respond.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, various thoughts came up for me, but there's no specific questions. I just want to revise. It's like, who do you know who can help you? And you can maybe do an exchange of a kind. And I recently asked a person for web help, and I'm helping her with emotional things. So we've got this, like, it's easy for me to do that part. It's easy for her to do the other part. And we feel great because we both get to do what we love. So
Yeah,
that's great. And then what and how, those three things you've mentioned so far. So I love that.
absolutely. And it the who goes with the what and goes with the why as well. They start to connect, and it's all just about being willing to get to know people and being willing to be open. I mean, Liesel, we did that over the years that we got to collaborate and got friends. I mean, you helped me tremendously with my daughters in coaching them. And I helped you in training and resourcing and stuff that I could help you. And the beauty is there was an exchange of funds because we want to pay each other professionally, but there was also an agreement in terms of specific time that we will both do differently. Let's do it differently. Let's adapt. And why could we do this? Because we were open to talk about it, and we were open to say, I need help, and you're the help that I need. So let's work. So
Yes.
if you don't ask and if you're not open, nothing's going to happen. You need to
Yes.
explore that.
I want to make a little point there is and then I want you to go on to your point because this could take us off track. But if people, I've seen that people with high responsibility are often a little bit reluctant to ask for help because that talent can also hijack and say, no, I can do it all. They feel like, I'll do it. Just give it to me. So that's something I am learning at the moment, is how freeing it is to ask for help from someone who can do that thing with a smile. And for me, it would take hours of energy, and it's draining, and it's like not nice. And so, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so this takes me also to the other part, and that is back to the CliftonStrengths, to understand your talents well, your dominant talents, to understand the dynamics, the nature of it, the interplay, the energy, the need, the where the energy lies. Is it a talent that's strong in the starting process? Or is it more a launching talent that gets energy from routine? Or is it more a talent that's energized at the finish line? Or is it a talent that wants to support and react to any of those areas? There are so many things that can be helpful for you to understand out of your unique, very unique talent mix. If you work with a coach who gets this and understand that and can explain it to you in order to manage it well. So you need to start with a self-awareness and then a self-knowledge and a knowledge about what's happening in me, why this thoughts, emotions, actions, etc. And then from there, a coach would take you also through understanding not only your energy and need and the drive, but also let's look at your supporting talents. And that's very important because supporting talents are in the midsection. So it's kind of, I'm actually moving away a bit, by the way, from the linear top to bottom. I like to start using a more circular effect where your dominant talent is in the center. And then as you move out, around it in the midsection is your supporting talent, and right at the edges is your non-patterns, difficult to reach and far to get to. And as you move and you have to get things done, there are many supporting talents that you don't have to overstretch to reach. You can tap into it very easily because the nature of a supporting talent, and that's a talent that's not dominant with you, but it's also not a weakness. It's neutral. And you should take advantage of the neutrality of the talent. And with neutrality, Liesel, I mean, there's no energy that drives you and no need that pulls you, but there's no detriment, resistance, or tiredness as well. It's totally neutral. All right.
Yes.
So at specific times, you need to tap into it and say, well, I have strategic at number 19 or in the midsections. So let me explore a bit more and let me think about this strategically. Then understanding what that means when you say it to yourself. What does it mean to think strategically? So you don't mistake it with something else. But then to give yourself attention and feed the talent. You know, the amazing thing about talents, your dominant themes, they are greedy. They self-indulge. They get up at night and go to the fridge and they overeat. That's your dominant themes. All right. Your
So true.
yeah, they're very greedy. Your non-patterns, they are like starving. Okay. They like skinny and anorexic and whatever. They don't want to eat. They don't want to be part of this party. They don't come sit down at the table at all. They go, don't feed me. Your supporting talents in the middle will respond if you feed it. When you need it, feed it. When you have something and you hold it out to a talent that is not greedy and not hijacking you and not always overindulging in your time and space so that you should manage it, but one that you need, that talent will respond and it will go, thank you. You're giving me a space at the table. I would love a meal because usually I'm not welcome here. Only the dominant themes are sitting at this table. So thank you for inviting me in. Now I can play. And that talent will play, whatever it is, you know. So it's about a holistic perspective of your talents, to understand that you don't only have strong talents. You don't even have top 10 or 5. You have 34 talent themes. According to the CliftonStrengths model, you have 34 talent themes that's all owned by you and all are relevant. But they have very different personalities, and you have to manage this. So the weakness is also your weakness. You own that, you embrace it, invest in your strengths, embrace your weakness. Say that you are not an includer if you're not an includer, so that people know it, so that don't worry. Why is Dries not asking me how I am? I haven't heard from him for 2 months. Then you just go like, oh, wait a minute. It's not really who he is. But
Yeah.
what I do know is if I reach out to him, he'll be there and he'll respond. Yes, thank you for the respect and understanding of me. Thanks for celebrating me as well. So it's understanding and embracing who you are and where you can tap into. And then, so supporting talents is important, but then when you get to the real non-pattern stuff, say for instance, let's take the example, let's turn it around a bit of another example. Let's say you're a strong introvert. And with people like you work a lot with, so you're a sensitive introvert person. You protect your space, you protect your boundaries. In CliftonStrengths language, you're probably strong in relator, probably strong in things like harmony or empathy, intellection maybe. You're in your own mind, in your own heart. That's your space.
Mm.
And now suddenly you have your own business and you have this client and everything looks great. And then the client throws you this one. Will you please next week do a presentation for us in front of the whole board where everybody can see and listen to you and meet you and ask you questions about what you're going to do for us? Anxiety just entered the room with you if you are an introvert, okay? You are
Yes.
not excited about this prospect at all. You have no energy coming your way and you have no need for this. You resist it, you start sweating, you don't know where to start, what to do. The what ifs runs over your mind. You want to run, but you've got nowhere to run to. Now what? Now what do you do? Okay. Now there's different ways that you should think of. The first thing is calm down. All right. Calm down. It's fine. You got this. You got this. Now let's just start thinking about this a bit and unpack it rationally. So get into a space where you can calm down and not, kind of get over anxious about it. And then when you start thinking about it, start thinking about what do you have that's working for you? All right. What's right with you? Forget now about the movie playing in front of you standing in that boardroom. Think about who am I? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what have I got going for me? Why, for instance, are they so interested in me that they would ask me to do this presentation? Something must be right with me. There's something that I can bring. Okay. So center yourself around your identity and what's right with you first before you start fighting the enemy at the side. First, ground yourself in this is who I am. Then start thinking on what strengths do I have? Okay, what do I bring? So if you're very strong in something like, for instance, relator, you will probably know that you also come over as extremely authentic. And you will also be known as the private professional. So people will probably find you extremely professional, well spoken, well presented. All right. Um, and then contrast that with who you're not. Think about it that if I come over as professional and authentic and the real deal that can be trusted, they won't find me phony. They won't find me shallow. They won't find me obnoxious and loud. They won't think that I'm selling something that I'm not. They'll only see me, and what they see is what they get. Awesome. That's something I can do, and that's worth selling. All right. Then also think about other things that you have strong or not. So for instance, say you have intellection high, and you're much lower in terms of self-assurance and activator and so on. Then my intellection, you need time.
Mm.
You need time. You cannot do this right at the moment. So be sure that in the scheduling of this, that you have enough time. Be sure that you have time to prepare in various ways for doing this. Be sure that you prepare not only in one track, but prepare by also reaching out to people that can support you for emotional preparation, for confidence, and not only for the presentation and the PowerPoint, but how am I going to do that? Get help. You need help,
Mm.
so get it and ask for it, but get time. My point is, if you see that what you need and what you don't have, play towards what you need,
Right.
and don't get stuck in what I don't bring into the room, because
Mm.
for everything that you don't have strong, there's a counterbalance in strengths that you have extremely strong, right?
Yes.
So um and that's true for all of us. I told you earlier, I'm very low on discipline, so I suck at keeping my world tidy. I'm not good at scheduling. I hate routine. I'm mostly kind of a bit of a slob and messy and so on. Um, so I can stare into that the whole time and say, Dries, you'll never run an efficient business, because everything will be kind of disorderly and no function and so on. Yeah, I can do that, and I'll probably be right if I focus on that.
Mm.
Or I can say, with my strong ideation and adaptability and need to maximize people, ain't it awesome that my business will not depend on the scheduling and order and neatness and all of that, but it will depend on me being in the moment there for people, maximizing and giving new ideas, training them. And that's what's going to make me successful. When the time comes and the detriment shows up of what I am not doing, again, find people, things, tools, give attention, face it, go queue in the line to get that license renewed. Don't postpone it. Go queue and get it done. Just tick the box. You don't have to do it with energy. You don't have to like it. And you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. In other words, it's okay if one part of your world is a bit messy and sticky and clumsy, for the sake of another part of your world or business being efficient and on the spot and spot on and productive. Embrace it all. Embrace it all. That's the point. Embrace all your talents and embrace all of who you are. It's a mindset, and it's an attitude that goes with grace. So what I don't have, just in a conclusion here of what I want to say, what I don't have for people is a magic checkbox of, okay, here's how you're going to manage a low strategic or a low activator or a low. There are things you can do. I don't really think that's always so helpful for people, because you're much more dynamic than only that low talent. What I'd rather do is to say, let's start and talk about who you are, what you have, why you do what you do, who's around you, who's your people you depend on, where do you come. Let's firm your foundation. Now let's move out of that and say what's absolutely essential for you to be involved in. And if it's absolutely essential, then what are you going to use and how are you going to do it and who are you going to involve in help? And then just tick that boxes as it is necessary, you know,
Mm.
and just do it. But you don't have to feel good about doing it. You must actually, when it's done, you must go like, oh, thank goodness it's over, and throw it away to get back to the real thing. That is a balanced, strength-based life, is to have things that you go, I'm so glad that's over for the sake of who I really am.
Right. That how absolutely wonderful. What a high note, I think, to end on. Is just it's the authenticity of it for me is, my relator and belief just loves this. Like, just be who you are. Absolutely embrace that. Embrace the bits that you're not and go like, I'm so glad that's over. And now I can go get back to what I love, but not try and like tiptoe around what I think I should be and like try and emulate somebody else who I can't possibly do with energy and need and
Yeah.
enthusiasm all the time. So, oh my word, Dries, this is going to be so helpful for
I'm
so many
glad.
people.
I'm
Thank you,
glad.
thank you.
As
Just
always.
you're so welcome. Just the energy and enthusiasm and the maximizing way in which you bring this across, just always makes my heart sing.
Thank you.
Thank
It's
you
a pleasure. You're
so
welcome.
much. Would you like to just mention your book and your website?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Yeah, so I published a book about a year ago, Launch Your Brilliance. And it's a book in two parts. The first part is just kind of around principles of understanding talents and strengths and how to live according to that, etc. That's the first part of the book. And then the second part is a bit more of a practical guide in listing how to manage each of the talent themes, how to understand the domains, how to explore and manage weaknesses, and different other things that I put in on there. So you can get the book on Kindle or at Amazon. Just search for it there, or you can go to my website and also order directly from me. My company is Strength Synergy, and my website is strengthsynergy.co.za.
Beautiful. And we'll put this in the notes so that people can just click on a link easily. And again, Dries, just thank you for this. It was just so inspiring and I can't wait to share it.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.